is one thing you've learned about love or long-term relationships that you wish you knew earlier? Story 1. If they can't say I'm sorry, I made a mistake sometimes without being prompted, or if they can't take responsibility for their own difficult emotions, it's going to be an awful relationship. Also, sometimes you've got to listen and show empathy even when you need to be listened to and be empathized with. Having this patience will make it so no one ever has to shout. Story 2. Don't bother with someone who is emotionally unavailable. It's not worth the love or trying to make things work if the other person doesn't listen, doesn't talk, doesn't open up, or shows little to no emotion at all. It's very mentally exhausting and can sometimes make you feel like you are overdoing it when in reality, there is a disconnect that won't heal because the person who is emotionally unavailable doesn't care to try to bridge the gap. Story 3. In the middle of any big fight or challenge, ask yourself, have I had a nap? Have I had a meal? Is this a stressful season because of external factors? This line of thinking really helped me get a grip on reality and recognize how my relationship was being impacted by external forces. Story 4. Love isn't enough. There are a whole bunch of really important and practical things which are needed in order to make a relationship work long-term, and they have to come from both people. So don't bust a gut trying to make it work with someone who isn't prepared to put in as much as you, and that goes for any relationship. Reciprocal effort is a sign of respect. Story 5. In a happy, healthy relationship, it should be about 95 easy and 5 really, really hard. Not actively fighting or abusive, mind you, but soul-bearing conversations that make you stare into your own soul, break down and change your destructive patterns to be a better human. That hard is what allows everything else to be easy. Story 6. Never date someone you wouldn't open a restaurant with. AKA, could they get a loan? Can they do finances? Can they manage the kitchen? Keep the place stocked? Good with the customers? Keep the place clean? Follow laws and regulations? Manage disputes? Show up on time? Communicate? Make good design choices? Manage employees? Keep their cool when a dish breaks? Handle criticism? Expand to a successful franchise? Love lasts like 3 months, but credit scores are for 7 years and retirement funds are forever. Story 7. Sometimes relationships just really aren't worth the trouble. They're mentally, physically, and emotionally draining. Being alone really isn't as bad as people made it seem. Story 8. The more you know and love yourself, the less BS you will put up with. Healthy love is not codependency, nor betraying yourself for someone else's needs or wants. I believe every relationship we have in our lives shows us how much we do or don't love ourselves. The key is to be whole on your own, so noon can subtract only add to your well-being if they can choose to. Story 9. If you get weird vibes from their friends, run. Don't try to convince yourself that they're different. You are the company you keep is a saying for a reason. Story 10. I wish I'd known earlier that communication is everything. Being open about your feelings, even the tough stuff, saves so much heartache down the road. Story 11. Spend your time becoming the person that the person you're looking for is looking for, then worry about a relationship. You don't want to know how many divorces and failed relationships it took for me to embrace that I needed to address my past and own junk before I could possibly be at a spot to walk with someone else through theirs. And don't stop working on yourself after you get in a relationship either. Keep trying to improve and understand yourself. It makes everything better. Story 12. Expectations are poison. Relationships thrive on gratitude, and you can't be grateful for things when you expect them. Your partner is a flawed human being and always will be. If you're not down with the whole person and all their flaws, find someone else. Story 13. He might not necessarily verbally tell you just how much he cares, loves you, but his actions and the way he talks about you to friends, family will reflect true feelings. Story 14. That when you know, you don't have to ask yourself all the time if you want to be with someone. You either do or you don't, and it's okay if you don't, just admit it to yourself and keeping looking until you find the one you actually want to be with. Story 15. Constantly analyzing your relationship and having long, in-depth discussions is not a mark of good communication. Usually it's the opposite. Not every issue or emotional snag or thing your partner did that you didn't care for needs to be discussed to death. Not every issue needs to be discussed, period. Your partner doesn't exist to meet your emotional needs or help you avoid ever feeling uncomfortable. You also absolutely cannot have a healthy long-term relationship if you refuse to be vulnerable and are paranoid and reactive all the time. Trust and giving the benefit of the doubt will do a lot for your relationship. So while asking yourself when something makes you feel insecure, are they actually being untrustworthy? Do they truly have bad intentions here? Or is this me trying to control the situation and avoid getting hurt, before bringing it up and making it their issue? Sometimes we all do things that aren't great and sometimes your person will need to be called out, but you should usually lead with empathizing with them, not with making sure you don't get hurt. People are a lot more likely to show empathy when they're receiving it, and are less likely to do things that damage and create distance in a relationship when they feel accepted and autonomous. Some people are emotionally unsafe, and it's a generally bad idea to be vulnerable with them because you'll get taken advantage of and harmed. If you are with someone like this, there is absolutely nothing you can do about it and you should dip. If you're with someone who cares about you and is generally on your team though, being up in their grill all the time analyzing and critiquing their behavior isn't emotionally intelligent, it's insecure and counterproductive. Story 16. You have to be honest and you have to communicate. Without those two things stuff falls apart eventually. And don't talk about serious stuff right after work or if any alcohol is involved. No good. learn to recognize any resentment when it arises so it can be dealt with ASAP. Also, sometimes you have to learn to love the person over again as they change and grow. Last thing, admit when you are wrong and apologize when you mess up. Story 17. While a relationship with a partner with mental health issues has its own challenges, it is infinitely better and easier if said partner seeks their own help and puts in their own effort towards bettering themselves in addition to the support you provide. Being with someone who doesn't put in that effort is exhausting, especially if you need to constantly talk them off a ledge. Story 18. You were someone before you got into this relationship. You had a whole life of your own before you met. You are someone now, and you have a whole life of your own. You'll be someone after the relationship ends, and you will have a whole life of your own after they're gone. It can be really easy to fool yourself into thinking that someone else is your whole world, your everything, but don't forget yourself. Story 19. That compatibility isn't about liking the same things, it's about handling conflict in compatible ways. You can love someone deeply, but if the way you both deal with stress, disagreement, or disappointment doesn't align, it'll wear the relationship down over time. I wish I understood that earlier. Story 20. You'll inevitably run into very rough, hard, and sometimes awkward conversations. If you can handle all that, through compromising and by being vulnerable and understanding with each other, your relationship is going to last. Story 21. This is not something I wish I knew earlier, but more like something I wish I believed earlier. The phrase that if they wanted to, they would is true. Spent 8 months with guy, never posted me on his own accord, only when I begged him. We broke up, and he dated this girl 3 months later and posted her a lot of times. Even saved their pics together in highlight when he never even made a highlight dedicated to our pics. Story 22. Never think you can change someone. If they want to, they will. My therapist told me think about how hard it is to change a simple bad habit of yours even for yourself. Now think how hard it would be to change the way someone loves you, argues with you, or anything related. You won't walk away. Story 23. Communication. Communication. Don't make assumptions. Communicate with each other. Tell them your needs, the stories you're telling yourself about their actions, your feelings, and if anyone invalidates you, they are not the one. They don't want you. They want a version of you that they made up in their minds to suit their needs and wants. Story 24. Don't bother pursuing a relationship if you have mental health issues causing emotional dysregulation and low productivity patterns. Eventually, people will lose hope, see you as a burden, and give up on you every time. Learn how to show up for yourself before attempting to show up for anyone else or risk being alone discarded forever. Never expect anyone to stick with you through your darkest times. Sounds harsh and unfair, but life is harsh and unfair. It is what it is. Story 25. If someone can't reasonably compromise long-term will never work out. Also, communication is huge and a large amount of adults just don't open up and talk things through like they should. If someone shuts down just because the conversation seems unpleasant to them, it's a major red flag. Story 26. Sticking it out and dedication are not what make a relationship good. Things should feel natural, not like you're slowly killing yourself and burying everything that makes you who you are. Please your partner. Life is too short to live in fear of others. Story 27. No matter how hard you want things to work, it's not always meant to be. Sometimes both of your lives are just better without each other, and that sucks. You miss them on the really bad days and the really proud days. Story 28. That you don't need them. I spent so long wanting to be in a relationship more than anything. I didn't realize how much time I had wasted accepting people I should never have given the time of day. Discernment is an incredible thing, and I wish I had discerned romance in my life way younger. I could have done so much more with my 20s. Story 29. 2 specific things that I didn't understand earlier on. 1. Relationships involve hard work, but the choice to do the work is easy with the right partner. 2. Alignment matters. We usually talk about this relative to finances matters, and spirituality. It's important to also align in terms of pace of life energy. Story 30. Beth, do you love me? Geez, Jerry, what kind of question is that? The yes or no kind, Jerry. Loving you is work. Does it seem like I'm working here? Sort of. Well then, I guess I sort of love you. Stop asking questions like this and maybe I'll love you more. Story 31. Love isn't inherently romantic. I mean, above all things, prioritize the serious aspects of your relationship, mental health, communication problems, etc. But keep in mind it would be difficult for those things to be worth focusing on if you didn't keep your friendship at the base of it. At the end of the day, or the end of your life, rather, you don't want to come home to lust, you want to come home to a friend. Story 32. The importance of lifestyle compatibility. You may love each other, but if one of you dreams of a rural life off the grid and the other loves walkable neighborhoods in big cities, one of you will be unhappy. Story 33. Actions truly speak louder than words. Pay attention to the way they treat the people in their life. My ex had no long-term friends, had negative relationships with every member of his family, and struggled to get along with classmates and later coworkers. If you think you'll be the exception in a scenario like this, you're dead wrong. I wasted 5 years on that mindset and ended up physically and mentally hurt by him. My current boyfriend, he wouldn't hesitate to give a coworker a ride, help his grandma fix a computer, run home to feed the cats for his mom. He's a lot less loud with his love, but it is pure and real. I feel safe with him and I know I can count on him. That is the kind of father I want for my kids someday. Story 34. 1. Love isn't enough. 2. Choose someone who loves you more than you love them. 3. Like who likes you. 4. For the guys, you'll never lose women chasing money, but you will lose money chasing women. So don't chase. 5. Trust your gut. Story 35. Are they kind with their words and actions? Do they care? Love is easy. We love things all the time. Heck, wolf beaters love their wives. But care, well, that takes empathy, kindness, and a little bit of sacrifice. Story 36. Poor communication is a massive, often deal-breaker red flag. However, you should make an effort to learn how they prefer to communicate and try to meet them in the middle. I grew up with very direct communication from the women in my family. If you didn't want to discuss something openly, you didn't bring it up or hint at it in any indirect ways. There was very little venting, just a vent type of communication. When someone complained they were offered help, suggestions, and support, someone who refused help but continued to complain long-term was considered selfish and irritating. I still vastly prefer someone who can communicate like this, but I've softened on the importance a lot. I try to provide more broad support and look for compromise more often. It took me a while to learn my family was unusually direct and stoic when compared especially, but not exclusively, to average women. The old trope of encouraged male directness and discouraged directness in women still noticeably affects the population. It took me a while to realize we're not the statistical norm, and no one had taught me how to deal with normal people who trend towards very indirect, nonverbal, and passive-aggressive communication. I was taught that passive aggression is childish and you should ignore it, and that did not help with dating women. A person who can admit fault, see from your perspective, and change their mind, especially when emotions are running high, is an enormous green flag. Make sure you're able to do the same and offer them the same green flag you expect. Most people overestimate the importance of their intentions and underestimate the importance of their actions. There's a great quote about how we judge others by their actions and ourselves by our intent, and it always stuck with me. How you treat someone is what matters. Why you treated them that way just adds context. But it doesn't change what you did. Love is both intent and an action. If you're not loving your partner as an action, the best intentions typically don't outweigh that. Find out the behaviors and actions your partner appreciates the most and actually do those things. Love languages are kind of a thing in that we all appreciate things differently, but they're also bullshit for being distilled down to a few categories and assuming you can only pick one or two. Actively support and love your partner in ways they enjoy. It's okay to leave a person because they rarely love you in actions, but communicate it first. I felt lonelier in a committed relationship than I felt actually being single because of this. Listen to them. If you luck out and get a person who actually communicates with honest, direct words, you simply have to listen. Lastly, couples usually become more like each other with time and grow codependent. Make sure your partner is a person you actually like and respect before committing. Don't assume you'll be able to fix them along the way. Story 37. Learn how to hold yourself accountable. It's very easy to expect someone to just apologize to you, but can you reciprocate that? Become the one before looking for the one. Story 38. You can have feelings for more than one person at a time. I thought having a crush on someone else meant I didn't have feelings for the guy I was with. Even though I absolutely did, I broke it off when I shouldn't have, learned my lesson the hard way, but at least my now husband benefited, going on 17 years now, still happy. Story 39. Love isn't always enough, and sometimes that's alright. People grow and sometimes it's in different directions, but that doesn't mean the relationship failed. Story 40. Just because you're in a relationship and feel really close doesn't mean you can lash out however you want. Mostly they're kind to others and strangers, but doesn't even care about their partner feelings. They think they can do that since they feel like we won't leave them and would tolerate them. While some do, it still hurt and screams taking love for granted. Story 41. That I needed to do self-work to allow myself to be loved by someone else. Sharing your life with someone every day. They see your lowest lows and it's such a vulnerable place for a broken person. It's taken a lot of work on my own healing to be a good decent is how I feel some days long-term partner. Story 42. You don't need to have fights in a relationship. My parents, grandparents scream at each other frequently. I've been told that a healthy relationship needs some arguments. I wasted a few years dating people that I didn't get along with, thinking it was supposed to be like that. I've been dating my current partner for slightly over 5 years and we have never had a fight yet. We respect each other's opinions, explain what we mean when the other person misunderstands something and communicate. Of course there are some very rare situations when I get slightly mad at him, but we can just talk and avoid an argument. Story 43. You matter as much as they do. You love them so you respect their opinions and needs, and if that's not reciprocated on a similar level, it can't be healthy for you. Story 44. If little things about them start to really annoy you, it's probably over. You've lost the spark or fallen out of love. If suddenly you can't stand the sound they make brushing their teeth, or the way they eat their soup or put away their laundry or whatever, it's over. It's okay to be annoyed by some of their habits, but if they're really eating at you, that's a serious problem. And if you have a serious problem, it's okay to give up. A successful relationship isn't measured by length but by quality. Know when it's not right anymore and allow yourself to be okay with that. It's much better than wasting your time and theirs. And you could be missing out on meeting a person you're truly compatible with. Story 45. Some people aren't willing to change. Even if it would help them if they did, the only thing you can control is yourself and the boundaries you set for yourself. The moment you feel a disconnect mentally and emotionally to the person you're in a relationship with, is the moment you need to consider where you see things going. Story 46. Having a sustainable relationship looks like an open circuit with many other things giving each person energy. If you're only giving and taking energy from each other, you're in a closed circuit and eventually the energy will run out. You need to be nourished by hobbies, jobs, friendships, alone time, etc. so you can maintain capacity in relationship. Story 47. Express affection, respect, compassion and encouragement in as many little ways as possible, and do it whenever an opportunity presents itself throughout the day. To take one example, at least once a week when we are lying around in bed in the morning, I steamroller her. We are in our 60s. Story 48. If you're with someone who cares about you and is generally on your team though, being up in their grill all the time analyzing and critiquing their behavior isn't emotionally intelligent. It's insecure and counterproductive. To piggyback on this, it's not your partner's job to fulfill your needs, it's yours. If you need something in the relationship and you can take action to get it, then it's on you. If it's something you need from them, then you need to discuss how they can provide it. This doesn't include needing them to do something constantly to assuage your insecurities. That's yours to work on. Constantly feeling jealous or unattractive, that's your insecurity, not their responsibility. Also, getting to know someone takes years. Don't expect it in a month. As long as you have a good foundation with them, your relationship will be much better if you relax and focus on enjoying the journey rather than focusing on milestones and goals or what you think it should be like. No one likes someone trying to force it. Story 49. Always have your own circle of people no matter what. One person cannot play the role of mom, dad, best friend and therapist, and honestly it's too much of a pressure on them as well, so always remember that you are an individual before being a partner to someone. That perspective helps you have your own space and also give you the clarity to respect your partner's space boundaries. Story 50. People grow, people change, that's just part of life. What matters is checking in with the relationship to see if you are growing together or growing in different directions. Doesn't matter what kind of relationship it is, it will always have seasons of change, and it's important to keep an eye on those changes. Story 51. It takes constantly turning back to the relationship to try to repair after rupture. You have to ask yourself how you can make it work, not if you can make it work. It's you and your partner against the problem, not against each other. Story 52. A man is sure of you from the moment he meets you, so trust him if he shows you you're not the one. You want change his mind. Find someone who sees and treats you as you deserve. Story 53. Loving someone with all your heart and trying your hardest isn't always enough to make the relationship last. Sometimes it's just not meant to be. It really sucks, but you can't force people to love you the way you love them. Story 54. Admit when you make a mistake. Don't make an argument personal. Argue about the issue and do not resort to trying to belittle or hurt the other person. Maintain respect at all times. Don't bring up old hurts. They're behind you, move on. Story 55. Never ever lose yourself in loving others. Remember this. People don't value things or people or emotions which are easily available. Keep your love in your heart. Show it sometimes, not every time. Don't lose your identity. Have your personal life, friends and activities. If this makes sense to or not, but ignoring your own life and value for someone else makes them ignore you at some point. Story 56. One powerful lesson many people wish they knew earlier. Love alone isn't enough. Compatibility in values, communication, and emotional maturity matters more in the long run. You can deeply love someone and still be totally wrong for each other if you handle conflict poorly, have mismatched priorities, or can't grow together. Real, lasting relationships take skills, not just feelings. Story 57. Don't fall into the trap of normalcy. Sometimes people grow apart and it's okay to take separate paths. Always try to self-analyze honestly and better yourself. Y'all are meant to grow together, not fall stagnant. Growth is forever. Also, if you would describe your family of origin as dysfunctional, work to unpack that because you definitely picked up some bad habits. Therapy, self-help books, etc. can help. Gives you tools for the self-analyzing. Story 58. The importance of communication is not emphasized enough, not just in resolving conflicts but also in maintaining closeness and understanding each other's needs. Story 59. If there's a behavior that is a red flag for you in the beginning, it will continue to cause issues for the entire relationship in one way or another. Story 60. Your relationship should be as easy as breathing. Any problems or conflict that does arise should be trivial and easily forgotten. The hard part comes from the need to consistently choose your person even when you're in a bad mood or life gets in the way, and take the time to prioritize their needs, work on yourself and maintain your connection and relationship, but it doesn't ever actually feel like work with your person. It's actually pretty easy. It's meant to be safe. It's meant to be fun. Story 61. When you connect with someone when the connection is genuine, they won't leave you in midst of a silly fight. No matter how angry either of you got fought, you always come back to each other. Story 62. 3 years together with a man I met off a dating app, and it's the healthiest relationship I've ever been in. From 15 to 18, I was in an extremely unhealthy relationship in HS with a narcissist who mentally abused me, he also me, and cheated on me multiple different times with multiple different girls. I thought it was normal to have a bunch of bad days with someone. It wasn't until I met my now fiancé that every day isn't supposed to be a yelling match or threatening another. It took me so long to realize that I was actually safe with my fiancé, but he reassured me constantly from the beginning. Story 63. Hello. Together for 13 years. Married for 5. It takes work and good communication to maintain a relationship. I've learned that sometimes you have to overclock your own battery to help them charge theirs, and that they will do the same for you when it's needed. Story 64. Communication. Communication, and more communication. If you are scared to bring something up to your partner, or you are shamefully hiding something, or suspect them of hiding something, or anything else, talk it out in a mutually comfortable setting. Story 65 that the idealism family picture you set out for isn't necessarily all what it's cracked up to be. Relationships take work, compromise, emotional vulnerability reassurance, silence becomes obvious. Story 66 the more you try to prove things are okay the less they usually are. It doesn't need to look good on social media or having refusal to fight with each other. Story 67 don't ever try to convince someone you're worth liking. Always choose to date people who've already shown they like you. It still won't always work out, but at least dating won't feel degrading. It's the literal bare minimum, and if you're telling yourself if someone goes on dates with you or flirts with you that means they like you, you're unfortunately wrong. Liking you means they've been around long enough to show a pattern of respecting you and considering you. This doesn't mean date people you don't find attractive either. It means look for someone who you find attractive that's shown you patterns of respect and care. Just be friends with new people who you find attractive until they reveal these patterns. People are habitual, so just standing back and watching who someone chooses to be around you before you decide to date them is so unbelievably important. Story 68 I am not professionally trained to deal with broken people that are incapable of loving in a normal relationship, and refuse to get the help they need. Story 69 peace can be scary at first. My past relationships were nothing but chaos, and when I finally got in a healthy relationship where it wasn't constant battles, the peace I experienced scared the out of me. I would pick fights to feel the chaos I was so used to. I was scared I fell out of love with him at one point BC the lack of chaos when the reality is he gives me so much peace I've never had but desperately needed. Took me a while to realize this and adjust my ways to be healthier, but it's possible. We actually just got married last month. Love is the action behind the feeling. If you're as important as someone says, they will go out of their way to show you. Story 70 relationships taking work doesn't mean every day feels like a shitty dead-end job. It means mutual partnership, teamwork, and enjoying the benefits of the work you both put in together. Story 71 when they are showing you who they are, listen the first time, and the little flags and cracks you see at the beginning become the big flags and cracks, and to ask yourself are they things you can live with in the long run. Story 72 a monk once said imagine being bitten by a snake, and instead of focusing on healing from the poison, you chase the snake to understand why it bit you and to prove that you didn't deserve it. I wish I knew this earlier. Story 73 1 that love can fade over time. Not always, but it can too. There are different types of love. 3 knowing the difference between love and lust. 4 my personal stance on wanting kids. Story 74 my ex loved me, at least that's what he said, lol, but he didn't like me at all. It's possible. Don't stay just because you love someone. Love is everything and nothing. Story 75 recognizing how you feel love and how your partner feels love are not always the same, and you might need to put in some effort if your partner's love language is different from how you normally show love. Story 76 things may seem like they're going well, then boom, they just aren't. And it's Yves. That being said, you'll get over him her in time. You may also be hit with a line they used on their ex. Story 77 don't be connected at the hip and do every single thing together. You need to have separate interests and activities. Be a me before you become an us. Yes, you can totally have things you enjoy doing together, but it shouldn't be all the things. Story 78 some don't last forever, some take a few tries to remain. I have been dating my current boyfriend for 3 years, but we have split up 4 times, yet we always come back to each other. Story 79 it isn't the occasional big gestures that carry you through so much as the little things you share with each other on the daily. Things like in jokes, acknowledging and appreciating when your partner has done something like mowing the lawn or making dinner, and communicating even if the subject is hard. Story 80 a lot of people want this big love story and spend a lot of time and energy trying to make sure their relationships fit that mold. But the thing is, the characters in a love story never know they're in one. Story 81 neither of us are mind readers. We both know the other person would make an effort for the other person to make their life better. But unless we communicate what we need, we got frustrated when the other person didn't just know what we needed or wanted. Communicate and listen. Story 82 don't put much expectation on relationship. If you don't like some of his traits, believe me, you can't change it. If you talk with your partner that you uncomfy and there's no change, leave as it, and leave your partner. Don't beg for change as it drains so much for a long way. Story 83 clear and frequent communication is the lifeblood of a relationship. If you're with someone who doesn't know how to talk or doesn't know how to listen, nothing you do will keep things healthy. Story 84 when someone cheats on you then apologizes, and you decide to take them back, you can't keep bringing it up. You have to just move on if you can't get past it. It's not their fault you took them back, that's on you. Story 85 that ID you be up without healthy examples of what respect and love are, then you most likely will settle for an approximation and have no idea what is missing, that when you do have a respectful and trust-based relationship, it's terrifying. Story 86 you can't change a partner. Find someone who you can love as is. If you don't think that irritating thing they do is adorable, keep moving. All the lecturing and correcting in the world isn't going to make a partner change for you. There are people who changed because of their own desires, but the partner isn't the change force. Story 87 after a 5-year relationship, I learned my biggest deal breaker is having different levels of ambition. At 21, he was happy with his job, his car, his friends, etc. I was always striving for education, travel, community, etc. I would get frustrated with him for not striving for more, and he would get frustrated with me for never being satisfied, and even though neither of us were right or wrong or good or bad, this incompatibility was super detrimental to us. Story 88. After my first long-term relationship 5 years, I said something to myself that has stuck for the rest of my life. I don't know what I want, but I know what I don't want. Story 89. The efforts may be in the form of time, words, and actions. Constantly reaching out, even if they're not exerting the same effort, does not guarantee that they will do the same and give back for and to you. Story 90. The impact of heartbreak. It's been over a year and I'm still struggling. It's changed who I am as a person. I've gone from being the person who loves organizing social events and having a hectic social life to dreading seeing people. It's affected how I work, how I sleep, how I eat. I suppose in this day and age of strong independent woman, I won't let no man wreck me. I feel ashamed that it's impacted me so much and for so long. I guess don't underestimate it. Story 91. Communication. No matter how difficult it might be to do, as in not knowing what to say is still the better option over silence. I will tell my partner when I am unsure of my words and how to explain my thoughts, feelings at times. Story 92. All I wanted her to say was, I'm sorry. She stole all my passwords to my phone, my personal laptop, and my work laptop for years. She thought I was cheating on her. She didn't find a single scrap of evidence because I wasn't. Then I realized she had been reading my thoughts and comments for years because she always knew, and I thought she was clever and understood me. I found out because I changed one of my passwords, and then the next day my laptop advised me I had one more try out of 5 tries. On my work laptop, my conversations were open, and I never leave my conversations open. She had read the last 2 years of my comments and thoughts to my friends and coworkers. It was an invasion of my privacy, but she was incapable of apologizing. When she finally did, it was too late. Story 93. Being able to communicate openly about feelings and mistakes is crucial. When both partners can express vulnerabilities without fear, it strengthens the bond and fosters mutual growth. Story 94. The best advice I was given is sometimes relationships take work, but it should never be hard labor. If you feel like you're breaking rocks on the daily, save yourself and get out of there. Story 95. Yes, for me my relationship with my husband was easy from the beginning. Yes, it takes work, but easy work, and not every day. I was in a relationship that was exhausting 247, and it blew my mind how easy relationships could and must be. Story 96. Yep, I think the part that takes work is mostly on yourself, things like making sure you don't get complacent, or take them for granted, or constantly pull away when you're feeling vulnerable, making sure you keep going on adventures together big and small. Practicing letting go of bad habits like needing to be right, or insisting that the towels are just so, etc., as these are the small negative things that can be like little stones chipping away at love. Story 97. I compare work needed in relationships to work needed to run a house. You do routine things daily or weekly, washing dishes, sweeping floors, and that's normal, but if you need to deal with serious issues every week, leaking roof or structural issues, then it is too much. Story 98. Yes, I wish I had learned earlier that relationships take work just means that real relationships aren't effortless and perfect 247 like they are in the movies. In a real relationship, sometimes you get up and go to the restaurant you're not that into because your partner loves it. Sometimes you do the dishes when it's their night because they're brutally busy at work, but it's not supposed to be endless backbreaking labor.